Right, for more on this, let's now speak to Terry Oakley-Smith, founder and CEO of Diversi-T. Terry, a very good afternoon to you, and thank you so much for your time. This is, by no stretch of any imagination, a very serious incident, bullying, especially when it involves young children. When you also consider that more than 3.2 million learners are bullied every year in this country, it becomes very clear that we are sitting with a big problem here.
No, we definitely. Good afternoon, Unati. Thank you for inviting me, first of all.
A pleasure.
Yes, absolutely. In 3.2 million learners, and they are the ones that have reported being bullied. Heaven knows how many others who've been bullied are afraid, too scared to report it. So clearly it is a serious problem. And it also makes learners stay away from school, which obviously is going to affect their school-going career. The latest numbers are that 160,000 learners stay away from school every year because of bullying. So one realizes it's a very, very serious problem. And I think, Unati, we have to understand bullying as a whole issue. It has to do with the parents. How are the bullies treated at home? Are they treated with empathy when they do something that's wrong? How do their parents, are their parents even there? But if their parents or a parent is there, how do they react with empathy, with understanding, or do they react by bullying their own child? Because the bullying of children is something that's taught and ongoing. So I think of that, and also the fact that, teachers need to understand as well. I'm always surprised when I see these videos that teachers don't seem to be on the spot. I think it's really important that children are monitored when they're leaving school, when they're arriving at school, obviously during school hours, because to stop these kind of incidents, teachers need to intervene immediately.
And I want to talk about those key stakeholders that you've mentioned there, Terry, and I want to start with the parents. I mean, bullying takes many forms, right? Maybe just touch on some of those forms, because I think what's important here is to understand, as you rightfully put it, in terms of how do parents react. Sometimes parents, given the fact of their own background and how they've handled bullying in the past, they seem to dismiss it more often than not. And it's only when it reaches a catastrophic point where your child, for instance, is accused of, assaulting somebody else to the point where they're hospitalized, then they take it seriously.
I think you're absolutely right, Unati, and I think it is to do with our history and our culture. I think it is relatively recently. I mean, even in businesses where I work, that harassment and bullying has become very evident, and where there's a code of good practice attached to the EE Act now about bullying and harassment. Obviously, in the workplace, it doesn't result in the kind of fighting that we saw in the school. But nevertheless, the premise is the same. It's about power. It's about people, whether they be pupils or teachers or parents, who feel that they're in a position of power and can dominate people that they see as weaker. And how they do it is in obviously various ways. They can do it by raising their voices, by shouting, intimidating, physically abusing. And then, of course, there's cyberbullying, which is often underreported, where children may gang up and leave messages on the social media of the targeted child who's bullied, therefore, through social media, through cyberbullying, which is just as painful and just as traumatic as face-to-face bullying.
And I mean, to what extent do these campaigns assist? Because we're now seeing that after these two incidents in the Western Cape, they've now embarked on this anti-bullying campaign. To what extent does that assist? Because, I mean, I don't even know if people know that there are legal avenues that parents who are victims, of course, can actually take. Children under the age of 10 years old, we understand, cannot be arrested, but a child over the age of 10 under, last resort measures can be arrested. I think a lot of people don't actually realize the consequences.
You see, I think the campaign is a very good idea, but one hopes that many different people will be involved in the campaign, that it will involve parents. So just as you say, they will gain an understanding of the consequences if their child is a bully. And if their child is bullied, they will understand the devastating emotional consequences and also consequences. Staying away from school, not being able to learn, and not being able to study are all consequences of bullying. One would also like to make sure that teachers are very much involved in this campaign, and one would hope that they are, because they have a serious role to play. How do they react to bullying? How do they behave as teachers? Because many teachers bully children in the classroom without consequences. And that kind of bullying doesn't necessarily involve corporal punishment, which is against law now, but the way they react towards children, the way they treat them, the way they intimidate them, can also be a form of bullying. So hope that teachers, and in fact all staff who work at schools, should be involved in this campaign. And then I can't stress enough how important it is to get parents there. But I suspect that very often the parents of children who bully don't understand of it and may not be active in this campaign. So I think the school needs carefully, the principal and other staff, how do we involve all the parents? How do we get the parents that most need to be here? And that would be not only the parents of the ones being bullied, but the parents of children doing the bullying. Absolutely. How do we get those parents to the school?
Absolutely. Terry, thank you so much for your time. Of course, this is a topic that we can spend hours speaking on. Terry Oakley-Smith is the founder and CEO of Diversi-T, speaking there about bullying in schools in the country.